Money can't buy you happiness, and the best things in life are free. I believe that's what most of us have heard all through our lives at some point. However, I know that that is the truth, though at the same time, our senses are being bombarded, telling us that it's not.
Ladies, gentlemen, reindeer, start your engines for a Crazy Eddie Christmas in August car stereo blowout blitz. Get an index stereo cassette player, FM stereo radio, car alarm, even a cellular phone. It's all on sale now. Remember, we are not undersold. We will not be undersold. We cannot be undersold, and we mean it. It's a Crazy Eddie Christmas in August car stereo blowout blitz. Get anything and everything in car sound, security, and communications on sale now. Crazy Eddie, his prices are insane.
All throughout our childhood, we were taught certain subjects in school with the intention for us to learn and develop our surroundings. We were taught about geography so we can learn about the world around us, history so we can learn from our mistakes, maths and English. But one thing we were never taught is about the spiritual, emotional, physical and mental aspect of ourselves. We were never taught how to be happy. That's interesting. At the moment, I don't know where I am, but one thing I do know is that I'm surrounded by trees. Now what you'll find, and I know this from experience, people with a lot of wealth, in other words, a lot of money, what they do in their leisure time, they don't go around in fancy restaurants because it gets boring after a while. What they tend to do is walk in nature with a dog. Why do they do that? There's nothing here. It doesn't cost anything, it's free. They go back to the beginning because once you've got everything, you realise that it's irrelevant. We go back to our roots. We go back to nature because that's the only place in the entire world that feeds our soul. It's a spiritual thing. We have to be in nature because that is our nature. It's quite interesting that you see a dog and he's quite happy and all he's got is a stick. Wouldn't it be great if I could just entertain myself with a stick? But we don't do that, do we? We have to buy Ferraris and big houses and win the lottery and all these things to feed our soul. But do we? Do we really? Or do we just need a stick? Because he's proof in the pudding. Look how happy he is. And all he's got is a stick. We can learn something from animals, can't we? All we really need is a stick to be happy. They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that I believe that. And the reason that I believe that is because that's what I've been told. Just having some breakfast. Like I say, the only reason I know that breakfast is the most important meal of the day is because I was told that. Again, we only know what we've been told. What would happen if we told ourselves a different story? I was born and raised in England in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom was established in 1707 with the Union of England and Scotland, and then later Ireland was included. This had now formed the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Several years later, the rulers of this United Kingdom brought in an education system that evolved from religious schools in the Middle Ages. Then, the Education Act was established, creating state-funded elementary schools, and then the 1944 Education Act,
which started a structured system with primary, secondary, and further education. And that is where I was told that breakfast was the most important meal of the day.
You see, for us to understand something and get a gist of the full story, we have to go back to the origins. Can humans feel happiness and depression at the same time? The truth is, no, they can't. It's either one or the other. So me and the missus are going to go out for the day and we're going to discover if we can find some happiness. Okay, so we're in the car and we're going out again to actively go and find some happiness. We know it exists, but where is it? Do you know where we can find some happiness?
Yeah, shopping.
There we are, shopping heaven. Primarni, or Primark, that's what they call it, isn't it? Primark. Do you know what I like doing? What makes me happy?
People watching.
People watching, just watching the world go by. It's very therapeutic, for me anyway. We're having a coffee together and we're still trying to find happiness. Are you happy? Not yet.
Not spent enough of your money yet.
Not spent enough money yet.
Your money.
So what have you bought?
I've bought a bra top.
So how much you pay for that?
£2.50.
Does that make you happy?
No. It makes me comfortable, but not happy.
We're now having a beautiful walk in nature, once again, trying to find happiness.
Happiness is sitting down having a cup of tea. Having a breather after you've had a long walk. Get off. Right, come on, get off. Oi.
Summer walks in the woods. Very relaxing. It's very relaxing, isn't it? Very tranquil.
Yeah, you don't have the dog pulling you everywhere.
Now, not everybody will find happiness by walking around the woodlands with a dog or perhaps sitting on a bench watching the world go by. Some people prefer a little bit of luxury within their lives. For example, travelling on a tropical holiday, sitting on a beach, partying on a very expensive yacht, and fine dining. Yeah, I like the sound of that. However, there's a problem with that, because if that's what makes us happy, then happiness isn't cheap. And there's a lot of us who can't afford that luxurious lifestyle. Let's play around with this just for a minute. If these are the things that make us happy, then what is the ingredients that it takes for us to feel this happiness?
We often hear people say, if only I had an abundance of money, then I'd be happy. Yeah, if I was rich, all my problems would be solved. Then I would definitely be happy. If I only won the lottery and won a fortune of financial freedom and wealth, then I would buy an expensive new car, a beautiful house near the beach. I'd then get myself a first-class ticket and travel the entire world. staying in the very best, finest 5-star hotels that ever existed. That would be amazing. That would make me very happy.
I was a millionaire. I had beautiful women in my life. I had cars, a house, an incredible, a solid gold career, and a future. And yet, on a daily basis, I wanted to commit suicide.
Why am I unhappy? Okay, Stephanie Gaga, hybrid person. Why are you unhappy?
When people say, oh, I want to be like you, I want to be an actor, I want to look like you, the question I always ask them is why? Like, really, why? And people, and especially America, this idea of fame, that to be famous means that you're successful, that you're happy.
Now, this is an interesting question that we really need to start asking ourselves. But you don't understand. I need these things to be happy. So what you're saying is, you need to have the thing to give you permission in order to be happy. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's look at this a little bit closer.
We should all really know that 1 + 1 = 2. So let's look at this mathematical equation to explain it in a different way. Let's imagine somebody is not happy. Now, if we add them possessing this thing that they want, would that then create their happiness? If, in this case, that is the situation, then that person is in big trouble. In other words, they are looking at a rainbow. And we all know rainbows are just an illusion. Let me break this down in a little bit more detail. We are all humans, and you yourself are also a human. As humans, we really only have 4 basic elements to ourselves. What I mean by this is that there are 4 main avenues that we can articulate and express ourselves. The processes that we use to express ourselves in this world that we are experiencing are listed as 4 different faculties. Number 1, mental. Number 2 is emotional. Number 3 is physical. And number 4 is spiritual. The mental aspect of ourselves determines what you think about. And what you think about expresses itself through your emotions. In other words, that affects how you feel. Now, how you feel will affect you physically, which changes your behavior. And finally, the spiritual side of ourselves that determines your reality. Now, why is this so important to understand? Well, it's because, like farmers, we reap what we sow. In other words, you get out of life what you put into it.
Happiness is not a thought, it's a feeling. In other words, you don't think happiness, you feel it. But what does happiness feel like? It feels really good. Happiness is not a thought, it's a feeling. But what does that really mean? Let me explain. In general, people only ever want something because they think that by possessing that thing that they're desiring will inevitably make them feel different. In other words, make them feel good. Let's use a few examples. You'll like this. Imagine someone said, I want to be in a loving relationship. And I then ask them, why do you want to be in a loving relationship? They will always give me the same answer, which is because it would make me feel good. Or what if they said, I just want to be happy, confident, and have a sense of security in my life. Now, if I ask them, well, why do you want all those things? They will say, because it would make me feel good. You see, it's not the thing that we want. It's actually the feeling we think it's going to give us by acquiring it. Everything that we do has an intention around it. If you climb a mountain, why are you doing it? Some people might say, well, because it's a sense of satisfaction. I said, well, is that it? Go deeper. Why do you want to get to the top of the mountain? At the end of the day, it's an achievement. So why do you want to create an achievement? Because it feels good. If it didn't feel good at the top of the mountain, what's the point? Why do people go on holiday? Because if you go on holiday, you're just going to come back. So what's the point of going? You go for the experience. And why do you go for the experience? Because it feels good. Everything we do because we want to feel good. Okay, so let's summarize this one more time. Happiness is not outside of ourselves. It's not external. It's internal. In other words, we experience this world and then we have an emotional response towards that thing that we're perceiving. And that emotional response comes deep within us. An example is, say my wife. I wouldn't look at my wife and say, I love you. I would look at her and say, I love the way I feel about you. There's a difference. So what is happiness? Happiness is within. And it's within you now. You don't need permission to feel it. It's down to you and you alone to turn it on.